I don't know. I need a hint. Jeez, I have no idea. I'm terrible at this game. Nobody has to be a hero. It just sometimes turns out that way. Oh my God. 40 Days and 40 Nights. Jeez, I have no idea. This is terrible. As I said, I'm super jet lagged. I'm gonna say Black Hawk Down. Am I correct? Thank God.
Nobody has to be a hero. It just sometimes turns out that way.
I love Ridley. We became like fast friends on the movie. I used to come into work with him sometimes in the car, and he'd be kind of explaining what he wanted to do for the day, and he'd be drawing these amazingly intricate storyboards as we're going over these bumps in the middle of Morocco. And you get to the set, and he'd have shown me all the storyboards, and then he'd set up the cameras. He'd be like, well, I want one over there, I want a box over there, and I want, you here. And the shots would be exactly what he'd drawn. Like, he had infinite ability when it comes to visuals, and it's pretty incredible. Adios yourself back to the halls of Tripoli, shitbird. I've got business with the lady. Wow. Wow. That's such a, evocative line. What in the hell? And I remember saying it, I think. Adios yourself back to the halls of Tripoli, shitbird. I've got business with the lady. I mean, it's got to be a super stylized movie. And it's got to be... It's not Sin City. Oh, I'm so bummed. I'm so angry with myself for not remembering this. I'm super jet lagged. I'm gonna have to ask. Oh, it's Black Dahlia. Oh, totally. 100%.
Adios yourself back to the halls of Tripoli, shipbird. I've got business with the lady.
Elroy wrote the book because he was interested in that story, but also because his mother was killed. And so we discussed the case quite a bit beforehand. The filming of it was marred by delays. Finally, the iteration that we filmed was cool, but I felt like I'd been living with it for years at that point. Apparently not enough, because I can't remember the line. Thank you. You're a stone fox. I know this one. This is Virgin Suicides.
You're a stone fox.
So you're like the first few films that you do, or the first few times that you're on stage or whatever, you remember all that stuff. I have held that film up as a sort of marker of if I can make films that are that much fun, then I'm happy. And it rarely happens. I didn't know what to expect in this industry because I was going to art school in New York and thought I was going to be painting. And so the whole fame aspect was so foreign to me and not something that I ever pursued. So it was simultaneously overwhelming and like the funniest thing ever, because I was not the most popular kid in school, and suddenly, I had people chasing me down the street. Cool, thanks. Okay, so I just guessed this one. Swear to God, everywhere I look, I'm seeing tits and ass. That's gotta be 40 Days and 40 Nights.
I swear to God, everywhere I look, I'm seeing tits and ass.
It was a different time. There were a lot of kind of sexy comedies coming out at the time, and what I appreciated about this one is that it was about abstinence from sex. Basically, this ridiculous concept of like losing your mind through not being able to do the deed. I became friends with the guy who wrote it, Rob Perez, and he said he had done it himself, and at the time, I mean, who cares? Like, it's not that big a deal, but back then he was kind of playing it up as it was like this mystical experience that he had. I was attracted to the bizarre concept of it. I was young. I was like 21 years old. It's funny to a 21-year-old. This ain't the farm, and these ain't no crop dusters. I'm not playing chicken with you. I think that's exactly how I said it. This is Pearl Harbor.
This ain't the farm and these ain't no crop dusters. I'm not playing chicken with you.
I love Ben. I think everybody's quite aware of this now, but he's an incredibly intelligent guy. And at the time, they always thought that Matt was like the brains behind the operation. And he had like this just incredible capacity to do like 50 things at once. He was producing a film at the time. He was like always had his little crossword. He was working on his crossword. He was doing like, I don't remember who he was dating at the time, but he was constantly on the phone with them. Whenever I see him, we're friendly with each other. But we're not super close. And I don't know if you know, The Onion has an article about us being like, remembering our time at Pearl Harbor, which my friends send to me all the time. I don't know why, but unfortunately, Ben and I, we don't get together and discuss the trauma of Pearl Harbor. Okay, I'm under the impression that you're under the impression that I owe you $96,000. I mean, lucky number Slevin? Yes.
Okay, I'm under the impression that you're under the impression that I owe you $96,000?
So many good memories from set. I became really close with Bruce on that, became close with Lucy Liu for a while on that, and obviously was able to watch and admire Ben Kingsley and Morgan Freeman doing their thing. There was another actor who was supposed to play Bruce's part. At the last minute, he fell out, and then Bruce was like, I'll do it. It was so bizarre that this huge movie star would come in and play this role, and he was so interested in what the other actors were doing. He was like a school kid on set watching Sir Ben and Morgan do their thing. Okay. We have two advantages. We know this town and we know the cold. We live here for a reason because nobody else can. 30 Days a Night. We've got another of night number movie.
We have two advantages. We know this town, and we know the cold.
Still one of the scariest vampire films I think that exists. I haven't seen it in a long time, but people come up a lot and tell me that they love the movie. And we had a really easy experience making that film. We shot it in New Zealand, and it was warm and it was gorgeous, but we were shooting inside of this kind of hangar filled with Epsom salts, which is probably, like, we probably all have cancer at this point. I don't know what it wasn't just salt. It was like all this other stuff thrown in there to make it look like snow. It was a lovely experience. Everybody's like, oh, how did you survive that? It's great. New Zealand's amazing. I'm from Minnesota, and like I know my limitations as far as cold goes, and like it gets to -40 in Minnesota sometimes, but like up in Barrow, Alaska, I think it's -40 a lot. Like those days we don't go out. And people live in that all the time. They're crazy, but they're tough. Thank you. I'm late, which is ironic because I started out 9 hours and 23 minutes early. I'm terrible at this game, which is ironic because I started out 9 hours. I definitely remember this. Like I remember the words coming out of my mouth. Oh my God. I don't know. I need a hint. This is awful. I've been doing this for 25 years, right? So that's a long time. Mozart and the Whale? Oh man. Of course it is. Yeah. All right. I love Mozart and the Whale.
I'm late, which is ironic because I started out 9 hours and 23 minutes early.
I haven't seen it since it came out. I got to know Jerry Newport, who was the character, my character is based on him. He's such a delightful human being, and a lot of these lines came directly out of his mouth. I think he told me the first time we met, he was trying to explain what his relationship with his wife was, and that's basically what the movie's about. And he said, sex with me is an acquired taste. And I was like, okay, cool, like right out of the gate. And I was like, all right, I love this guy. Theory will get you only so far. This is much more recent. This is Oppenheimer. Theory will get you only so far. Ernest Lawrence, I think, is probably the most significant cultural figure of the 20th century, American 20th century, that I knew nothing about. I got this unbelievably detailed sort of sense of this person that had history gone just a little bit differently would have been someone that we were talking about in this same way. He was the first American to win a Nobel Prize for physics. He was on the cover of Time magazine. He created the Rad Lab. He was running 4 different segments of the creation of the atomic bomb. And I felt like an incredible responsibility to play him, but also an incredible responsibility to show, because they were so opposite in so many ways, to show sort of a yin to Killian's yang. Oh, aliens are taking over the Earth. Wait. The Faculty.
Aliens are taking over the Earth. Wait.
Like I said, I wasn't really an actor, and I think, and if you ask Robert, or I asked Robert, like, why did you pick me? And he was like, because you were like too cool to even learn your lines for the audition. It was basically because I didn't know anything about it. I go in, I talk to the director, right? And everybody else is like there, and they're prepared, and they're doing the thing, and he was like, no, I need Zeke to be like a rebel. That's why he gave me the role, because I was terrible, because I didn't know how to do my job. There's not much advice I could give to a kid in that position. When you're at an age where it's your formative years and you're being commodified, it's almost impossible not to be either drawn into it or to fight back against it. And I think my position was, I'm going to fight against this, and I'm going to find myself. And I think that was the right move, honestly. Enjoy yourself more. Don't think too. I would give that advice to myself right now, like to all of you, to everyone. Enjoy yourself more. It goes fast.